in the office and a hotter. Me still a yam jive bread and can't buy butter. Too long now we not see no day girl. Too long the boss sitting in the kitchen empty. Too long the youth them out a street hungry. Can't see no food nor no money. When me say this a one and name Coquito songs. So turn it up, turn up the music. And tell me how them a go band this a one. Then turn it up. Oh, people can't find food to eat. So turn it up, turn up the music. A man a dead like fall out the street. Then turn it up. Can't afford to pay, feed them school fee. Say we jump out of school then, yeah. No work, no day, belly empty. Can't see a 10 or a 20. Mama don't have no food in chicken kitchen. Can't buy rice when you talk about chicken. Seems like the backyard stop go bunking. Can't find flour figure make fried dumpling. No one hears we hungry cry. No one shares with them piece of pie. No one cares when poor people die. And no one dares the man's a lie. Tell them say, this a one and name poor people songs. So turn it up. Alright. And tell me how them a go back this a one. Then turn it up. Alright. Oh, people can't find food to eat. So turn it up. Alright. A man a dead like fall out the street. Then turn it up. They don't know what it feels like or what it seems like. You know he eat no food for morning. Don't know what it hurts like or what it sounds like. We have to hear another belly they yawning. Don't know what it is like or what it tastes like. We have to eat the next man leaving. Don't know what we live like. They don't know how we life. So no matter when you hear them preaching, tell them say this a one and name Coquito songs. So turn it up, turn up the music. And tell me how them a go band this a one. Then turn it up. All the poor people can't find food to eat. So turn it up, turn up the music. Man a dead like fall out the streets. So turn it up. England, wherever you live, you know how can cost a living be held on the salary? That's right, that's right. You know the vibes, you know the vibes. Well, this a one I ain't for people songs. Turn it up, turn up the music. Tell me how them a go and this a one. Then turn it up, turn up the music. Oh, people can't find food to eat. So turn it up, turn up the music. A man a dead like fall out the street. Then turn it up, turn up the music. Too long now them a big people a suffer. Too long them a feel like garbage in a gutter. Too long them sit down in a office and a hotter. And we still enjoy bread and can't buy butter. Too long now we not see no they pay. Too long the boss in the kitchen empty. Too long the youths them out the street hungry. Can't see no food nor no money. When me say this a one of them poor people song. Then turn it up, turn up the music. Tell me how them a go and this a one. Then turn it up, turn up the music. Oh, people can't find food to eat. So turn it up, turn up the music. A man a dead like fall out the street. Then turn it up, turn up the music. Yeah, that's that.
Is anybody home? No countdown. It's time for another episode of the critically acclaimed. I forgot one thing. Almost forgot my tools. Chill out. I'm gonna give you time to leave. To the critically acclaimed Shane TV. Jalal Providence, you're too early. So let's leave for now and come back. I'll tell you when to come back. I'll text you, okay? All right. Brought to you by our sponsors. Oh, Lord. Me. I feel like I'm out of focus. Let's see what was hot in here. I wonder why. Anybody hot? I'm gonna find a rent receipt to fan with. Oh my god, it's hot. I wonder why. Um, so today we're gonna be discussing three things. I'm gonna try and put them up on the screen. One is, see, it took a while because y'all don't understand how hard it is. First of all, when I try and do my show, I try and actually do research, like some of us do, because I actually believe in having some credibility in what I discuss. And when I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know, but I don't want to say I don't know for most of the things I discuss. That's kind of besides the point, right? So we're going to discuss stocks. I need to get it on the screen first. Here's one, stocks. Ooh, I like that one. That looks nice. Doesn't that look nice? Let me see if I could copy it. Okay, I can't. The next thing we're going to discuss is, gosh, oh, entrepreneurship. Am I spelling it right? Yes. I think I did. Can you check and see if I spelled that right? I'm gonna put these right here below Oprah. Oprah's gonna be there watching you guys the entire time. And the third thing I'm gonna discuss is, who can guess it? Government, our old friend. Is everyone here? Oh, there's 20 of you. That's about how many friends I have. Good. So, I am hot. I know I am hot. I am hot besides the obvious. I'm also hot because I'm wearing my jacket. So, Adriana, this is why it took a while. Because I had to find my jacket that I wear when I want white people to trust me and black people to believe me. So, I got it, and we're here. We are now here. So, before I begin, anyone wants to open us in a word of prayer? You know, I used to hate that, like going anywhere and it's like we have rehearsal and we had to start with a word of prayer and some worship just because we're trying to stall for time for latecomers to come. And I'm like, y'all believe in God? What if you didn't? Like, y'all don't even take it seriously. Anyways, um, somebody could tell, Gavarim Life, please. He said that, thank you. I appreciate that prayer. He said to tell him when I'm online. I don't know what that means. I am live! Exclamation mark. People are giving me jokes in my inbox already. So today, when I made my status that I'm gonna be addressing poor people at 4 p.m., one of my friends who meant nothing by it, he wasn't being malicious, but he's also not Vincentian, so he doesn't fully understand the context of that status and what I said. Um, he said, "Oh, of course." He says duty calls first. He said, it was a bit harsh. I should say the underprivileged. And I had a hearty laugh. He said I should say the underprivileged. Besides the fact that mostly the people on my thing who would care, who would understand what I meant by poor people are Vincentians, so they'll understand the full context and they know what's going on. Speaking of, let me look for this thing. Um, they understand what's going on, and they understand the validity of that word poor in Vincentian culture. They would understand it. And but then I realized what he said is not a problem just in the Caribbean. It's a problem everywhere. And I told him this. I said, "Isn't it funny that we have been programmed and conditioned to accept a label that speaks about consequence as opposed to our status or our reality?" That means that we are not living in our reality, and that's what happens a lot, especially within the black community. I'm not going to say the black and brown. Everybody feels they have to make everything black and brown these days to be politically correct. I'm not, because a lot of things that affect the black community and a lot of the disenfranchisement that happens to the black community, some of it misses the brown community. And let's be honest about that. And a lot of it, most of it misses the Asian community. So I'm not even going to refer to Asian people. Not that there aren't poor Asian people, but Asian people have their own worries. And I said that we have been conditioned to not accept the word poor when we're referring to ourselves because it's embarrassing to be poor. Because poor means this. That's poor. Now, don't they look poor? If you look here, you'll see that they. I wish I could do. I don't know if I could do markup. I probably could do markup on this screen, but I'm not gonna try and figure it out now. But if you look, you can see their ashy feet, and you can see behind them a hut, a tattered hut, and you could see that on their faces, um, they look sad, right? They don't look happy at all. They look like, wow, the weight of the world is on their shoulders. That's what poor is represented by, and it's abject poverty is something that we have been taught to hate, not because it within itself is a bad thing, but because if we manage to identify with it, then that will cause a lot of problems, and a lot of people would be in trouble. But this is what we think of when we hear poor. This is what we think of when we hear African. So we hate even being called African, and we have the same level of hate to poor as we do to African. Hmm? That's the reality. But we don't know that when we see pictures of poverty, we see pictures of poor children as this. That's poor children. But we don't know that poor children could also be this. These are also poor children. What's the difference? Maybe one is lower middle class and one is lower class. Is that the difference? Because we usually take that as the boundary. That's the margin that we use. I'm not poor, I'm lower middle class. Tell me which one of these is lower middle class. This one has her shirt has a little writing. Maybe that's lower middle class. Or their clothes look like they might have gotten them out of a store new, as opposed to what, the dirty clothes. So that's the difference between lower middle class and lower class. We have been deceiving ourselves for so long about a lot of things. And today I'm here to address some of it and some of the mistakes we are making as black people. And not all black people are poor. Don't start. Anything that anyone, if you ever want to make a scientific argument or real argument of any form, don't say not every. Nobody ever said every. So let's throw that off the window. The vast majority of black people are in the lower middle class or the lower class. I'm not going to waste my precious Caucasian time trying to find you stats on that. Go outside and say A and see who comes outside, and then make your judgment and start counting. You do your own survey. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you live in. I live in Harlem, on the island of Manhattan in the city of New York. And in this borough of New York lives the wealthiest people in the city, some of the wealthiest people in the country, and some of the poorest people in the country. And Harlem is the black capital of New York. People say it's Brooklyn, but technically, Harlem is one of the black centers of the United States, and it's a black cultural center of the United States. It's a little bit less relevant now, but within the realms of the studies of African American history, Harlem is very significant. And Harlem is also noted as being one of the poverty centers of New York City and America. Some of the poorest people live here, and they're being pushed out by gentrification. And everyone's like, well, gentrification also brings good things because you get to clean up the buildings and the streets are clean. And they now have shopping shopping, well, it was always a commercial center on 125th Street, but now there are franchises that would not have considered coming to Harlem before. So that's an improvement and that's an upgrade. And that's how people see it because they measure things by aesthetics. They measure status by aesthetics. And that is why today the definition of poor does not involve a big part of our demographic that is actually really, really poor. And that is black millennials. Millennials in general are poor, but some of them have wealth passed on to them, quite a bit of them. And some of the black ones have wealth passed on to them. And that's why a lot of black people in this generation are becoming out of touch with the reality of a lot of people's existence, a lot of black people's existence. So they can make comments such as the first and primary comment, not everybody's poor, because you offended them by talking about black people being poor. It means that you have just forced them to give up the jig. It is up. And today, I didn't plan to come on and talk about this. I was trying not to. I've been trying not to for months. And then I saw a post that happened before I made a status and said I was going to come on today. I'm going to go look for my trusty um, white people trust in black people listening ears jacket and dust it off and put it on and come on here so that people will stay on long enough to learn a thing or two. Because the post caused multiple things to happen that made me realize okay, we really can't avoid this anymore. We have to address this because there are multiple things that were happening in that video that was recorded and the reactions to it. So, in California, I believe, um, someone shared a video of a black guy recorded a video of himself going into a self-driving car, and it's it's still a pilot project by let me see if I could get something to show you guys. A pilot project for this thing called Waymo. Waymo is a project being done by Google. Well, it's being funded by Google, but I'm sure it's another company. Waymo is an artificial intelligence, one of the many artificial intelligence projects out there, startups in California in the Bay Area. They're in, I think they're in Mountain View, which means they're probably a part of Google's campus. But what they're doing is they're trying to start this whole, trying to continue this whole artificial intelligence in cars, self-driving cars. This one is better. So you can see their friend there. And they put a cute little car in the. Oh, a cute little car. Like, why would they put this car? They could have put a more modern car because it's a modern project, right? Why put that little cute car? It's because there are things that are going on in that sphere that has caused a speculating eye to be casted that direction. Within the last few years, there have been multiple deaths in pilot projects with self-driving cars. I know for sure one was with Uber. Y'all are quiet. Y'all are really paying attention. One was at Uber. I don't know if anyone on here can recall that. Can anyone recall when there was the car crash that killed the Asian kid in the self-driving car? I don't remember if that was an Uber one, but I believe the Uber one that I could recall might have been the one that killed a pedestrian, a woman who was trying to cross or something like that. So those are at least two deaths I can remember. There might be more, I don't know. But those two for sure I know. And that one of those at least caused Uber to abandon the project for a little bit. That's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. To abandon the project for a little bit because the skepticism that happened behind the technology and the artificial intelligence, the programming that showed that the skepticism about pedestrian safety and driver safety is real. That one ran a stop sign. The dude who did the video today, I don't know how he was allowed to pilot the project. Um, the way he was recording, because I don't know who he was and there wasn't much information on him. But the way he was recording as a consumer who was testing it. And he was saying, "Oh, I take this to Walmart all the time." But he was conveniently pointing out a lot of things. And that Casey was one of the things he pointed out. He's like, "Oh, here comes the stop sign." And I chuckled. I said, "Oh, poor people, poor us." He's like, "Oh, here comes the stop sign." And the car stopped at the stop sign and he was pointing out every it's like he was selling the car. He was selling the idea of a self-driving car being safe. And he it was a black guy and he was speaking in our vernacular and he's like, "Ooh, this car drives better than some of y'all." And he was really selling it. But it was an innocent video by a consumer who was just happens to record himself being excited and going in the car and getting his ride to go and pick up groceries in the middle of the morning. And it happens to get a million or 2 million views within 2 weeks. And I'm like, all right, well, bro, Waymo better compensate you for that little plug. But the funny, so that was one thing that I was concerned about because not the driver safety itself or the passenger safety or pedestrian safety. We could talk about that all day and how artificial intelligence artificial intelligence is constantly improving and things are changing and technology is constantly making our lives more convenient. And he's probably in the project for all I know, Casey, making things more convenient. But we are not examining all the consequences of some of this intelligence. And there are ethical views and ethical reviews made of some of this stuff that some of these larger companies, smaller groups would be behind this research, but their goal is to have a bigger company fund them. And we'll talk about that soon in entrepreneurship. But we are not looking on the outside because while he was in that car excited, an excited black guy saying, "This is so cool, this is way cool," I'm like, bro, I know for a fact you know at least 4 or 5 people before COVID. I'm not talking about COVID, so don't start telling me about COVID and things are not normal and blah blah blah. You know at least 4 or 5 people before COVID who are of color, whether they're black, Hispanic, Southeast Asian, other Asian, whatever they are. I know you know people who are middle class because they want to take that term, despite what the wealth gap is currently. Middle class people who have had to drive Uber on the side of their full time job. And you in here with the last thing left that black people were allowed to do semi independently to try and be able to maintain a quality of life, to at least maintain that mirage of being middle class, because we are not, and because we are grossly underpaid, and a lot of us are underemployed, and that's why the gig economy went full blown under President Obama, because his policies, and we'll come back to government again, allowed for this to happen, and less accountability was held to these companies and multinational companies and big corporations that were overworking underpaying people. And even now, where the whole discussion about minimum wage came up, it was poor people themselves who are countering it and who are against the minimum wage. The people who have the money do not have to argue because the people who need the money are the ones who are scared because they're saying you're going to make everything go up. People are not addressing the fact that everyone is underemployed and inflation is so much higher compared to the changes in the minimum wage over the last 30 years. People are still making almost the same money they were making in the 80s. And people who have purchased, you're in Harlem, I'm in Harlem, sorry. And we're here. Some people have brownstones here they bought for $1 that are now worth 2, 3, 4 million dollars. They bought them for $1 in the 80s, and they're worth so many millions of dollars, and they're renting them to people. People don't buy a brownstone to live in it alone. For those of you who don't know what a brownstone is, let me get a picture of a brownstone. It's a multi-residential home, a multi-family home. Sorry, um, that has multiple layers. I have to get a picture that has. Well, you could probably see the flows here. Uh, that has multiple levels. Sorry, not layers, floors. And Jalal, I thought the knife would chase you. You are doing some damage. And people talk about me. I don't know why my family's this way. So some of these homes are pretty now. You see them all glamorous like that. That could be Harlem. It could be Brooklyn. I don't know. But a lot of them were abandoned. They were in neighborhoods that were abandoned because a lot of them were built in historically black neighborhoods. Neighborhoods also that were once white, the one I live in, that became exclusively black. I'm not going to give too much information about myself, so I'm not going to go into that. But it would have been good history to know how things happened. So you should look it up yourself. But these homes that were once one family homes decades ago, um, over time, they became residential units that people would rent. And now to rent a one bedroom in one of these homes is like easily 1,800, 2,000, $3,000 depending on the location. Yet we have the same minimum wage of 1989. It's like, but But poor people are the ones saying if minimum wage, if it goes up, everything will go up. It's already happening. Inflation is happening regardless. And anything that happens outside of inflation is an excuse for people to drive up prices on things without regulation being tightened around them. And even with regulation, it happens recklessly. And that's happening in St. Vincent, that's happening in the United States. It doesn't matter where. But salaries and wages have not changed. However, certain classes have become more wealthy. Those are the classes that are not depending on salary or wages. They are the true upper middle class, and upper class people. They're the ones who are there, but they will not call themselves that. Why? I'm going to show you what some of them call themselves. Some of you are going to love this. They're the ones who benefit from anything that is done as a response to the consequence that we want to be labeled as. Anything that is done to benefit those who are actually suffering. These people are in the front of the line. And we allow them to be because why? Because we think that they can relate to us. But they can't. They're just using an opportunity like anybody else, and we welcome them with open arms because they're wearing a cast like we are, and they have crutches. See, the crutches are important. The crutches are the most important thing in this picture. Y'all understand this picture? This is not the intention of the picture, of course. This is by one of my favorite artists. I have some of his pictures, his Instagram posts in my bathroom. But these people will come limping along with you and say they need a help too. They're the ones getting more money than us when the stimulus packages come. And I'm not talking about just the US, any country. They're the ones in the front of the line. You're in the back of the line thinking you're important. They're in the front and they're limping and they're getting the money. And they're the ones saying that the minimum wage cannot go up because everything else will have to raise and we will all suffer. I'll bring that picture. Let me bring it back. That's my favorite picture of the day. I have to bring that picture back. We're all gonna suffer. We can't have minimum wage go up. You want us to be poor forever? We're all suffering. Stop it. Stop. We're all poor. Corporations are poor too. But back to the Waymo story. So the Waymo story inspired me because I said, let me look up Waymo. I want to see what's going on because I saw the first thing I saw about it anywhere before I even left the post was that it's a Google self-driving project. So I went to search it, and I want to see if I could duplicate the search. Darn it. But when I was doing the search, it was probably mobile. That's why I can't. I don't know. The first thing I saw come up in the suggestions. Ooh, this might help you. Oh, they were all right here. People also ask. That's one of my favorite things to look at when I'm looking at no Casey. I have these next to me. I'm worrying. Um, I saw what questions people were asking. How much does Waymo cost? So I'm like, okay, so they're trying to see how much is the cost of the service. It's not public yet. It's a project. So I was like, okay, I'll excuse that. Is Waymo still owned by Google? I was like, oh. Then look up here. That one I had to search too after because I wanted to see what results were coming. But that was the first thing I saw. Is it still owned by Google? Can I invest in Waymo? Is Waymo cheaper than Uber? What's the Waymo stock? Waymo stock price. All of those pops up as soon as I searched it. I was like, this is hilarious. I was like, Y'all gonna leave stocks for anybody else? We have gotten bitten by the stock bug. Listen, when you see black folks get onto something, we show up late, but we go off. We go all the way off. And and I've heard conversations happen before. Um, well, the last I first got on to Robinhood. Well, I tried to get on years ago when Robinhood was brand spanking new, and you could only get on by reference. And for some reason, the verification, my ID to verify my ID, it was not working, and it was not letting me on, and it went by for like over a year, and I gave up. And my godson was like, he was trying to get me on because he was trying to get the stock, and he kept begging me. So then one day, like I'm trying to get my stand in. I One day I finally did it, and I got on. I don't remember if he even got the stock, but I finally got onto it. And I was like, so let me take it easy because I know this could be, now that this platform makes it so easily accessible to trade, I know people are going to come on here and I know they'll have an agenda. They'll have a full agenda in getting people to treat this platform like what it's not. Not like what it is, but what it is not. So, what dangers could there be behind um, a harmless way of making money? I want y'all to listen carefully because this information is important. This is not secrets about how to make a lot of money. This is information about the dangers of getting into this thing that we see as an opportunity, but in reality, it's as much a weapon as it is a tool. People could become addicted, and that's exactly what had happened. That's the conversation I said I had. I remember someone told me, I think it was the same person, told me that um, they have discovered that a lot of, with COVID, when COVID happened, when it started this about this time last year, about maybe a month, give or take a month, um, when the casinos were finally forced to close down, a lot of gamblers started diving into Robinhood, and that's when Robinhood gained this whole momentum of popularity, and it went off the charts. And in 2020, when everyone was stuck inside and desperate for money, lost jobs, and had nowhere else to go and spend the money, people were pushing and rooting their money into Robinhood. And I was like, yeah, that's expected, but that's kind of hilarious. Um, but that makes it more dangerous now. And he's like, yeah, it's like that's when we started using E Trade more. But the thing with Robinhood, and we both admitted this, he's in finance, I'm not. I just happen to know some things. I barely know anything. Robinhood was so much easier to use. The user friendliness was their key, was the key to their success. The accessibility was a real key to their success, but user friendliness was a big part of it. But then over time as well, I noticed that a lot of things had changed in the platform than just the user friendliness. I'm not gonna go into my platform so y'all can see how much money I got. I ain't got no money in there, but they talked about gambling addiction experts see familiar aspects in Robinhood app. A lot of well, a lot of people don't know the things I do. I work in marketing full time, but one of my freelance job in marketing is also in design, and I have to pay a lot of attention to user experience. A lot of the changes Robinhood made in 2020 coincided with these people coming over, and they talked about some of them in this article about how some of the prompts, some of the effects in Robinhood were starting to mimic the same platforms that gamblers would be used to, like casinos. like green confetti. They changed. They always had green as their theme color, but keeping up with the aesthetics of well, everything that was happening last year, a lot of people started engaging dark mode in their designs. Robinhood was glad for that because it's like they leaned now and they went towards the whole concept of the no windows and no clocks in the casino effect, where it was now just a dark space, and it's like it almost automatically took you to dark mode with the green, and all you see is green and red. And it's like the way they push you through the app, the way it's designed, it's like it's designed to get people to be pulled in and sucked into making the money. A lot of it is usefulness. A lot of it is making it easy to navigate for people who have no clue. But that in itself is a problem. We are rushing into things we have no clue about. And I've had some friends come to me and ask me, what do you trade? What do you use to trade? Do you trade stocks? Some of them ask that. And I'll be terrified to answer. Some people I'll answer straight up and be like, yeah, um, I do this and that, and you should be careful. I'm not a professional to consult or to advise you. I can't tell you which stocks to buy and all that. I'm not doing that. I have discussion with friends the same way, and we will talk about which ones we're doing. And sometimes I learn from them, and sometimes they learn from me. But it's not something to just rush into. It's not a game. It is not a game. If you look on the screen, you'll see in one extreme example a 20-year-old, it's extreme of course, a 20-year-old Robinhood trader took his own life last summer after seemingly misunderstanding his financial statement and blamed the company for his circumstances. What I think happened is there's this thing that happens automatically in the system if you haven't covered something that you a loss you made yet before the system catches up, because people don't understand this platform is commission free because they are not precise. They're not exactly precise with the market. That's how they make money. So things take time even though they seem instantaneous on your side. But he got a statement showing that he owed a lot of money. But in reality, Robinhood just hadn't updated yet to cover, you know, what was really owed, and it turned out he didn't really owe any money like that. But it was too late. He already killed himself because he saw that statement. He's like, he's never going to get this money, which tells me one thing: he was somewhere where he didn't belong. And that's why I warn people about rushing into the stock market. And they'll come and ask them, what are you trading? What are you using to trade? Blah, blah, blah. And I'll tell them, listen, the one thing I'll tell you about me in the market, I do not treat the market like I'm a trader or a broker or this is Wolf of Wall Street. That stuff is not our reality. I treat the stock market like a high yielding savings account. If I want to use money to set money aside as short term saving, I'll put it in the market for a while, knowing that I could leave it there and not touch it until I need it. I had done that last year. And I'll go for it when I want it and take it out bit by bit because it takes a while for you to get it. So it deters you from spending that money instantaneously as you get it. You won't go, oh, I just want to buy this. Let me just use this, because you're not going to get it at the same time as if you leave it in your bank or if you leave it in your Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. You can't treat it like that. So the money is it gives you a little bit more discipline. If you want to treat stocks like that, fine. But if you're coming into this as you heard your friend talk about how much money they made, because I had that happen to me since 2015, 6 years ago, when nobody was thinking about stocks. I had a friend who made $1,000 in like one weekend off of GoPro, and GoPro never went back to those levels. And I know people who rushed in after that and lost money. I wonder if I made money off of GoPro. If I made money, it was barely any money because I didn't. I was skeptical because I knew it had already rallied. But one of the most popular is Bitcoin, crypto, and people are now. By the time Black people discovered what crypto was, what Bitcoin was already at its peak, and people were rushing in to lose money the same way. I remember when I found out about Bitcoin when it was like less than 10 cents for one. And I was like, what is that? That doesn't make sense. And of course, I lost money. I could have been a millionaire. But of course, it wasn't easily accessible either. You couldn't just buy it like that. It's much easier to buy it now. But if I had actually made the effort back then, I would have made money. But if I go through life thinking like that, I'll make a lot of irrational decisions. So you can't think of that. I can't think of the stocks that I could have invested in, and like if I had done that. I used to do that, and I had to stop myself because it causes you to make irrational decisions. There are cases where I've made a lot of money off of stocks. While everybody was rushing behind Bitcoin and GameStop and stuff, I was making a lot of money off of Neo because one of my friends he put me onto Neo. Well, there, see, he put me onto Neo, so that was a good thing. So this is another thing, and I keep talking about this with a lot of companies that spring up, and I mentioned this about, for example, real estate, and a lot of things are digital now and they're free or they're so easily accessible, and everyone's so skeptical about Facebook and how Facebook uses your data, and they have you putting up all kind of statuses that make no sense that won't stop them from selling your data. That's their business. Robinhood. I remember I was telling somebody about a real estate site or app that existed. One of my friends worked for it. I can't say who, but when she was working for this app, it took her a while to realize the primary business of this is not real estate. They did not care if they made any closings. They had people going out, they had a whole branding image behind that to try and get recruiters to get people to trust them so that they could get data. The company was actually selling data back when selling data was new and people didn't know about it. So people were not suspicious. They were trying to get all the data they could get out of you, your young family, so they could sell that to companies for way more money. And that's how they were getting wealthy and rich, so that they could build that small startup enough so they could sell it to a bigger company who would use it for data mining until people find out and people go somewhere else, and then that company closed down. And people are not tracing brands like they should be because people don't know who owns what. So Robinhood is in the same business, and that's why everyone was acting surprised when the whole Wall Street bets scandal happened with GameStop and Robinhood, and everyone was on Robinhood trying to buy GameStop, and people who were trying to make money off of poor people were convincing poor people not to sell. Hold, don't sell, and everyone bought it up, and it's not your fault because we don't know what's going on. But the reality is, all this was going on behind the scenes because they knew at the end of the day, Robinhood would side with the billionaires. They're in bed with them, and people don't understand that, and you get disappointed when you find out. Like, do you know what time it is? What time is it, everyone? We need to get watches back. Wish I had a regular watch. We need to get watches back in the game and give everyone watches so we can find out what time it was. Because I think people are having trouble with problems with time, especially poor people. Like I said earlier, by the time poor people discovered what Bitcoin was, all those young white privileged boys who had a lot of money, they had already made money off of Bitcoin, and it was starting to rally. It was already starting to rally. So people were going in and putting a whole bunch of money in there, and it's like now it's starting to bounce back again, but a lot of poor people lost money, and a lot of black people lost money. A whole lot. Some stand chances now to recoup some of those losses. I don't know, some might have, but a lot of people lost money, just like Forex. I cannot tell you one person I know who's wealthy from Forex right now through well, that's gonna take us to point number two. Through through Forex on network marketing. Because that is the big thing right now. That was stocks. Let's do entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, network marketing has been around for as I don't know, maybe as long as Adam, and it has taken a new direction into foreign exchange trading, crypto, I think too. Yeah, because I never got that far with people and other things like that, other financial industries. Just know that a lot of these things are happening without you needing a middleman. But the thing is, this ties into the stock thing too. A lot of people think that you can make money off of these things that quickly because people are making lots of money and they'll come and that's the thing they'll do to poor people. They'll come and tell you that so much money is being transferred out there, so much money is being made. Why can't you have a part of that? Because you don't have the money to make it. And that's just reality, and a lot of people don't want to accept that. A lot of people run into Robinhood. They run into stock trading because they think that it comes just like that if you take the chance, if you make the right decision. That's not how it works. I remember my friend talking about GameStop and what was going on, and she was asking me about the stock trading stuff. And she said one guy was like, he's pumping 5 grand into GameStop right now, $5,000, and I was like, okay. And she was like, she can't believe he's doing that. That's so much. I said, that's no money. Now, for you, it's a lot of money. For him, it's probably a lot of money, even though he's acting like it's not. But $5,000 on one stock, that's not how people get wealthy. So imagine you going into Robinhood with your $20 and your 25 and your $50 and your $500, and you're thinking, here I am taking a chance. All you're gonna get is money for a chocolate bar. But even more dangerously, on top of that, what you're gonna get is an itch for more, and you're gonna want more. And there's a risk, and that's what the markets are. That's what business is. It's about risk. It's about risk taking. So whether you think that that's what it's about, going and putting your money into stocks, day traders make the real money. That's where the bulk of money. People who are going in, and you don't go in day trading. I could show you the FINRA site. Let me see, to show you the kind of limits we're talking about. What is a day trade? Let me show you the part about the limits. What is the minimum requirement for a pattern day trader? And this is applicable whether you're on Robinhood or not. It doesn't matter what platform you're on. There's a $2,000 minimum entry requirement for a retail investor. So that would be you and me. But for a day trader, where does it say it? I see it down here talking about how is it determined, but I want to see if it's up top. Here we go. The minimum equity requirement on any day in which you trade is $25,000. That's if you want to go in and turn over money quickly. That's the minimum. So these are the kind of people that you're trying to compare yourself to and fashion yourself off of. They are not your reality. You do not have $25,000 in a day to risk. You don't. If you do, I'm happy for you. But the bulk of you on here do not. And that's just the reality. And we need to have people tell us the truth like that and help us to understand where you're currently situated. Then we won't have to be worried about if someone's calling us poor or underprivileged because we will know what our reality is. And our reality is that a lot of us are poor, but we don't want to acknowledge that because acknowledging that would do damage to our ego. But we're conditioned to not acknowledge that because the people who are responsible for us not having equity, they will be exposed. So they have taught us the pattern of that label being bad because it keeps us in place. And entrepreneurship is one spot. I talk about the forex and the crypto trader. You never seen a rich one. You see everyone trying to get you into it. You see everyone trying to get you to pay them money so you could be a part of their institution, so you could be an independent business owner. No, you're not an independent business owner. You're working for them. You paid them to work for them. You're working for them to do two things. One, to market their product, which is of subpar quality. Otherwise, they would not need network marketing to get product to move. And you would notice, if you doubt me, look at every single network marketing. I don't want to call it scheme. Network marketing plan there is. Is the product something you would buy if someone just brought it up to you and told you to buy it? Almost never. If they just brought it, I didn't say if they sold it or pitched it to you. If they just brought it and gave it to you and say, read that, would you like this? It's usually no. It's usually an unrecognized brand or a subpar product. But by the time they finish selling it to you, and when I say sell, I don't mean the exchange or transaction, but I mean the advertising and convincing you to buy it, you think differently of that product. But the product within itself is still not enough for that business to make profits. The profit is generated by people who want to be a part of the process. They want to be a part of the growth. They want to be a part of more people coming in, and my team, my structure, that's usually in the shape of this, because you're at the top. Unless you want to be at this kind of, if it's not in this shape, else no one would come. So it has to be in this shape, so that you're at the top, so you're getting income coming up from the people who are joining below. And by that point, you get distracted by what you're actually trying to do, which is to move a product. But you're no longer moving a product because that was not the initial plan. But to go back to what I was saying, go to that person who got you into that plan. It doesn't matter what you're selling. I'm not going to down you on your hustle right now. If you're on your hustle to do it, do it. Some of us need something to do on the side. It's not for me, but some people need something. But sit down and look through your ranks. Look at the person who recruited you. Do not look at what they tell you that they have. Look at what they actually have. Have that honest conversation with them. Ask them, are your bills paid up? Yeah. How long have you been at this? Well, I've been at this a certain time. And you would either see that they've been in it long enough to benefit like that, or they're lying. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's either they've been in it long enough when the thing just started for them to have enough people under them, or they're lying to you. And a lot of people who talk about business success are lying. Quite the bulk, honestly. And you'll think I'm a hater. That's why I'm saying all of that. But everyone wants to be a business owner, but not everyone wants to be a worker. Not everyone wants to be employed. And not everyone, most importantly, wants to build wealth. Everybody wants to be rich, but very few people are actually putting in enough research to find out how to build wealth. Wealth is not something that pops out of the sky. Wealth does not come with a tiny seed and faith. And a lot of things that are taught in church are actually poison used to keep people poor and to lead people into poverty, because the people who benefit from it are some of the same people funding a lot of these churches. That is one of the biggest criticisms behind Protestantism. And it's not me being critical of the church. This is actual history. Go back into your history. I remember having a lecture about this once when I was in undergrad, and everyone was so stunned listening to me talk about it, but it made sense because it's something that we know and we think we know when we talk about capitalism and its roots in Protestantism. But when you really examine it, it's like, wow, this is high level manipulation. And we think that the biggest problem is that churches are asking for offerings. That is nothing. Because you'll be quick to jump on the pastor asking you for an offering, whether or not that pastor is using welcome. I hope you're not skipping work to watch. Whether or not the pastor is benefiting from that money and buying a Benz or a Bentley, and no one's getting the money. Y'all so worried about that because you were given that distraction to cast your eyes on so you could ignore what the real system that is happening is. That prosperity gospel stuff is nothing new. It came as soon as Catholicism was optional and Protestantism became the norm. The prosperity gospel was already there. It's nothing new. We were already conditioned since centuries ago to consider that our own worth is what will get us what we actually deserve. And then that measurement of how much we deserve constantly changes because we're convinced that we don't deserve a lot of things that we are entitled to. And that's going to get me to my beautiful island soon. I'm going to discuss you guys soon in your latest predicament. But that is the constant theme that happens in a lot of things, especially when we're dealing with poor people. Poor people are constantly told to measure ourselves where we are actually not even measurable. So if we're poor, we're either not working hard enough or we're making stupid decisions. Poverty is always our fault. We are immeasurable, yet we're constantly told to measure ourselves inaccurately. We're constantly told that liking things is not for us. We're not supposed to like things. How can you be poor and you're spending all that money on all that clothes? Trust me, poor people spend some stupid money on some stupid things. Don't get me wrong. We all have issues with priorities, but rich people do as well. So we're constantly bombarded with nonsense like this stuff, trash like this stuff, and I know a lot of you guys are sharing them too. So I'm gonna address them today in mass. What's the problem with sharing these? It makes sense, doesn't it? Why you have a problem? Everything you have a problem with. I don't have a problem with these. You want to share them, you can share them. If you want to be ignorant, you can be ignorant. But I'm just telling you what the reality of things is. The reality is people are not poor because they're spending $400 on shoes. What black person you know spends $400 on shoes? Now, I know you could think of a black person, almost every one of us here could think, I don't even say that. A lot of us here could think of a black person who spends $200 on shoes because a lot of people have Jordans. So we could talk about that. You're never too poor. You're welcome here. We know black people spend $200 on Jordans. So yes, this is true. This meme is true. This picture is true. Black people, poor people, every time we spend that on. Oh yes, it's true. We spend $100 on something on jeans. It's true. Girl, yes, it's true. We spend $200. Me, it's $20 jeans I wear. I don't wear that stuff. That's true. And they spend $200 on a coat. Yeah, I don't wear all that. I wear my $50 coat. And that coat gonna have a tear by next season. Between now and 5 years from now, you went through five $50 coats, and that person you looking down on still got that same $200 coat. But you there talking because it's easier for us to cast blame on ourselves. But if that itself wasn't bad enough, we have a totally, completely, utterly, ignorantly, stupidly inaccurate concept of what rich people spend. You think I'm not going to address the designer bags. The reason I'm not addressing the designer bags because that is a different kind of mental illness. Some designer bags are worth it because they'll last a long time, and some people just want something that is of good quality. So I don't blame people. But a lot of people, you can't even afford good quality. Sis, you can barely afford bad quality. So you need to that's a personal thing. That's not an income thing. That's beyond that. And people always joke about CNAs having Michael Kors bags. That's an issue. I don't care if you bought it for quality or not. You guys have no right walking around here with something that someone made that was not targeted for you. But you're wearing you're not, that is not a problem by itself. You're taking it to a job where you're getting paid. Listen, while we out here trying to impress the wrong people, I'm not robbing us of having nice things though. because no rich person is walking around in a $10 jacket or $50 shoes. Now, let me tell you what, they're going to look like they cost that, and that's what's outrageous about it. Because those people that you're thinking is so aspirational because they have all this money and they're walking around in a simple t-shirt. They talk about Mark Zuckerberg all the time like that. Mark, look at Mark how he's dressed, and rich people and poor people be wearing all this stuff. Listen, these people with money, and they don't have to be rich. Some of them are middle class. They will go into Banana Republic while you're in Old Navy and Gap trying to impress somebody like you. You're trying to save money. They're going to Banana Republic, which is owned by the same company, but that's the top tier one. And they're gonna go in there and buy the same shirt made by the same company that looks the same, that costs $10 and $20 in Old Navy and Gap. They're gonna buy it in Banana Republic for $80, and it's a plain T-shirt. And you're walking next to them thinking that they're dressed cheaper than you, but they're not. Yet it costs the same money to be made, and they will do it. But they will look at you and call you ghetto because you have more layers on, or your clothes have different what you call it, different character. Your clothes are made differently. Your expression is different than theirs. And it's just them villainizing black expression because it is a black part of black culture. And I'm not talking about us taking Gucci and all that crap. That is an Italian brand that was not targeted to us. And they're actually offended that we're wearing their stuff and we're making it and wearing it in the hood. I'm not talking about that. Fashion has always been a part of black expression. And a lot of white fashion stole a lot of black expression that came out of the black church and black underground in New York City the same way. If y'all don't know about this stuff, y'all need to watch some documentaries. Look at the new one. Is it How Sweet the Sound or something like that? That Dr. Gates from Harvard is doing on PBS. Look at the show Pose. Pose looks at the what do you call that stuff in the gay underground. I forgot the word that you use for it though, but you know what I'm talking about. The battles that happen. Madonna went under there in the underground, and she came out with Vogue, the song Vogue, from seeing that. And once it became white, white women took that culture and made it their own, and now black people are taking it back and imitating white people. But really, it's white people imitating black culture, black gay culture that they saw. But those expressions, whether it's in the black church or in the Jesus, I wish I knew the word. These things are looked at as ghetto only when we're doing them. So they discredit it then. But then when there's a royal wedding and they're wearing a peacock on their head, it's not ghetto. It's whimsical. And the truth is that same expression of that peacock on that head at that royal wedding or the gay underground has $500 to $800 difference between them, even though a lot of them came from the same designers. There's a lot to process there. A lot to process there. So don't perpetuate this victim blaming concept that poor people are wearing all this money. We are not wearing all that money. And our expression is not ghetto. It may not be your style, it's not my style a lot of times, but I'm not going to see it as ghetto just because a black person did it, because when white people do it, it's not ghetto. Because a lot of white people are living off credit. And that's another thing we must address. But that's a whole different show. You can like things, it's okay. But don't make the assumption that because they're there next to us and they look simpler means that they're spending less money. And even if they spend half the money on that outfit to go to the wedding, you look at their lifestyles, look at the car they showed up in, look at how much money they're going to spend on a simple meal during or after the wedding. Look at a lot of things that are happening. If people knew the kind of money that people had in their society, the upper class people had in their society, whether it's in a country like the United States where black people are a minority, or a country within the Caribbean where colorism is the rule of the law, and Caribbean people think that they're exempt from racial inequities. But colorism is a bigger problem than racism in my eyes. But they don't want to hear that. But the same exact thing happens down there. And right now, someone was telling me up to today that they were having a discussion with a friend about some of the inequities happening in St. Vincent. And you've mentioned people, y'all are so busy fighting each other, and I'm gonna get that to that in point number three. But y'all are so busy fighting each other that y'all are blindly falling victims to the people who are succeeding over you. Y'all don't know half of the crap that's going on. Person was telling me today, Vincentians don't know half of the concessions that happen in St. Vincent on behalf of the government to their friends. When y'all are here worried about duties going up and taxes on duties going up, a lot of these people who have been quiet, they have to stay quiet because they're getting duty free concessions to bring in some of the stuff they're building and some of the stuff they're using and flaunting on you. The dumbest set of poor people I know, but we'll get to that in a second. But to round off entrepreneurship, everyone's trying to dive into it, and nobody wants to be poor because everybody's meant to be rich. But that's not the reality. What is the reality? According to data from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, about 20% of US small businesses fail within the first year. 20%. By the end of their fifth year, roughly 50% have faltered. After 10 years, only around a third of the businesses have survived. They said no, there's a COVID 19 exception. They said, yep, the business listing and review site noted that in June that 41% of all business closures noted on their site since March startups and establishments were permanent. That's with COVID. Businesses fail easily. So if you're going to go into this, know that you're going to be fighting for your life. Especially if you're going to abandon whatever employment you have. I'm not saying to stay working for people and you don't need to do anything or blah, blah, blah. That's not the point. Know what you're going into. Know if you can't find employment and you're going to decide, I'm going to find my own stream of income, you're going to be fighting for dear life. If you're going to be doing a job and you're like, I want to do this on the side because everybody got half of us don't know what we're doing. A lot of people are just being busy for the sake of being busy to try and seem like they're hustling, and we have to give off that air. We have to give off that impression that we are successful because we're busy and because we're not sleeping. Listen, y'all could keep that. I'm tired of that crap. It's been 10 plus years I've been doing what I do on the side. That's really a full-time business for me. Because, for example, while I'm able to take vacation from my primary business, my primary employment this week because I had a break from school, and as an administrator, I'm expected to work during that break. I decided no, I want a break. I want a break from school. I want a break from my job at the school, my full time job at the school. Yet, last night, in efforts of actually having some freedom this week from my freelance side job, I was up until almost 2 a.m. working on my vacation day. That's entrepreneurship. And I saw a post today that triggered me. A lot of people, especially Instagram is so dangerous. Instagram is so dangerous. That's why I only engage certain ways there. People don't understand. A lot of people are lying. A lot of people are lying. The person quoted stats on there that I'm not sure about. I couldn't verify them, but he was saying that only 3% of small businesses make over 100K. It could be true because I'll show some stats that are more representative of what's going on, but these includes all types of businesses. So these are small, medium, and larger corporations. The reality here is over 50% are making under 100K. That's what the business makes. That's not what the owner makes. That's what the business makes. That's how much the business takes in. Then you have to cover the cost of running that business. It doesn't matter if I leave the country. If I leave the country, they're gonna email me. All of my business. I've been doing business in this country before I lived in this country. Before I even set foot in this country, I was doing business in this country. So trust me, that's not gonna stop them. I moved to this country so that I could be closer to the business I was doing. So that's not gonna stop them. But a lot of people are flossing and flaunting when their reality is not what they're showing you. A lot of these people you see talking about they're busy and they're traveling on all of this, they're doing it on borrowed time and money. A lot of these businesses are failing. So when you see this and you feel so inadequate within yourself, that's the whole guise of Instagram. That's why it took me years to get on there. And I've been on there for years already. But a lot of these people are on there giving impressions that are not true. They are not making that money. Their lifestyles are fake. Their lifestyles are fake. I've seen a lot of what do you call them again? I have a bad memory. You gotta forgive me. Influencers. That's the term. I hate that word now. That word had a positive light, but a lot of influencers are on there, and it's like they're on there giving this impression that they're this and that. And I always make jokes about them. I'm like, you guys are on here like aspiring to be people who would show you hotel rooms, but they can never show you their living room. They can never show you their, well, they might show you their bedroom, but they can't show you their living room because they're sharing with somebody and it's a hot mess. I remember one time I saw somebody posing and he was trying to have like a rugged scene with like this high fashion outfit and his bag, and he's like walking. I don't know if he was going to work because I feel like he was a flight attendant. And he was posing in one of the most hood rat parts of Brooklyn, and I was dying. He was in Brownsville. For those of you who are in New York or know about New York, y'all know what Brownsville is. There's no gentrified part of Brownsville, so you know he was living rough, and he probably paying half of my rent, living in Brownsville, posing and in his high fashion outfit. And I'm like, if a lot of because most of his viewers and followers do not know New York, and he slipped up and he I don't think it was in his intention to tag the location because he never did. And I was like, if only they know what Brownsville is in the context of things. But there's someone sitting down looking at that picture wishing that was them. I was like, girl, listen, you would not want to wish you was in Brownsville. You don't want to be in Brownsville. Don't ask her for her living room. I've seen her living room. Don't refer to her. You see, I'm silent about her. I ain't talking about her. She's the next one. And there's some of y'all too who be hiding y'all's lifestyle. Y'all think y'all slick. All like me. This is as much as y'all know about me. That living room. That's somebody's furniture. That's not mine. Pretend it's not mine. I don't live here. Somebody allows me to tape in their house. So we need to know what the reality is. The reality is long hours. And in the post that I talked about earlier that the person made, he said these people are lying. And people need to understand that a lot of you in your 9 to 5 are making more money than these people ever will make in their business. Let's start with that. Me too. I love home. I look. Most of the people I follow on Instagram are people I know. The few celebrities that I follow, of the actual celebrities that I don't know, maybe two. The other few celebrities I still follow are people I actually know or worked with. The bulk of the people I follow that I don't know are house accounts. Architecture, interior design, that's it. Let me see a nice house. I don't want to see your fake house or your fake lifestyle. I don't have time for that nonsense. And it's not because I'm inspired, because I don't want to live in a lot of those big houses. I don't have time for all that space. Y'all could keep that. I am not dusting. I'm not paying nobody to dust. and it's just too much space. I've gotten to the point where I can't exist in a huge space. It feels uncomfortable. If I have a big house, I'm gonna have a tiny room with a TV so it feels cozy. I can't live like that. I can't be in my house and hear my voice echo everywhere. I can't do all that, but I appreciate design. That's why I follow those. I love to see good design. Like I'll go there for a week or a weekend or 2 weeks and go a tour of whose house? Never day, never night. I would go and spend some time in a nice space like that with a lot of space with some people and have a good time and then go back to my tiny space. I don't want to be in all that space. It's not something I aspire to, but I love to see it. Y'all have fun with it. I watch a lot of TV, so I'm not gonna lie about that one. I watch a lot of TV, but you could get to choose what you watch. But aspiring to a lot of these things, they're not all they're cracked up to be. And that's why lottery winners are some of the most miserable people. You lose friends, you lose family because of money. Because we're trying to change things that we cannot spend in our lifetime. And a lot of us are like chasing all this money, trying to make all this money off the stock markets, and you don't even know how to spend that money. So why are you trying to make it? I mean, anyways, I'm not gonna go on that. You think people are putting money into stock market to pay light bills? No, you don't go into the stock market for light bill money or grocery money. If you're going into it for that, if you're going into starting your own business for that, you might as well stay on a 9 to 5. Stay on a 9 to 5. If you're trying to go into making all this money so you could pay bills or you could buy bags, like stay on your 9 to 5 because you're gonna have a level of money that you don't know what to do with it, and all you're gonna end up doing is destroying your life or someone else's if you don't know how to handle money. But that's the next conversation by itself. But like that person said, a lot of people are making more money on their 9 to 5. And a lot of people are not prepared for their own business. You're not prepared for those hours. Sometimes between both jobs and even before outside of schools, between both jobs, I would spend 12, 14 hours a day working. You're not prepared for that. You have to actually care about what you're doing and you have to actually persist. You know how many times I try to stick to one job, but I can't afford to live in this city with that, plus do school and all of that. But if I could, I would. Let y'all could keep that whole I own my own business. I don't work for nobody. Keep that. As independent as I am, and I'm a free thinker and I love free time, I could get all that with a job. My job I currently hold, I started it as a consultant because I was lucky. It's a job I did while I was in school, but when I graduated, I came back to the job and started as a consultant. So I was my own boss, and I could decide my hours, and I could decide this and that, and they couldn't control me. But I couldn't decide when I wanted to go to the doctor because I could not afford health insurance on my own dime. An institution like that can. They could afford dental insurance. They could afford to pay me for my time off. All of those benefits. A lot of benefits that you get at your 9 to 5, you're not gonna get being an independent business owner. So you're gonna be out there telling people how you working for people still, and you can't even go to the doctor to check that sore. Y'all living some real reckless lifestyles for people without proper health insurance too. But that's for next live. I was gonna say something about that. Yeah. Also, you have to think beyond the obvious. You want to go into an independent business, you got to think about the point of forming business is for it to last. It's longevity. You don't go into business because you want to try a thing. You don't go into business because you're fed up of work with people. You don't go into business for that nonsense. That's good for you, Pro Lucas, and that'll be me one day maybe. You don't go into business because you want something to do. You go into business because you want to go into business and you want that business to last. So a lot of people, especially I went today after I went to the gym. I decided I'm gonna go to this restaurant that I hate going to because I wanted oxtail and it was not $28. Um yes. There are clients like that. I know people who have gone through that, who are being blessed enough to have clients who, if they're caretakers or they're private nurses and stuff, they'll take care of you very nicely because they've made money and they don't know what to do with the money, so they just give it to you because they budgeted for it. Some of them will even give you a car, they'll give you anything. And we're out here aspiring to be rich and we don't know what to do with that money. Comfort is going into a store and not checking to see how much stuff costs. You just want it, you buy it because you need it. That's what we should aspire to. If we spend in this country and in any other country in the world where we are black, in St. Vincent, in the United States, if we spend the way we are paid, the economies would fall and collapse within themselves. But we don't. Black people do not spend how we are paid. We spend how we see ourselves because we have been programmed to not see ourselves as poor but as underprivileged, which means that we are not getting what we're entitled to. No, as CPA as an independent, no, that's not stupid. That's actually one of the occupations where you have the privilege where you could actually do well independently, especially in a country like that where you don't have to worry as much about health insurance costs and other costs that come with living. People here, they try and get into companies to get health insurance. That's probably the biggest driver why a lot of people are working for companies. But being an independent business owner, you have to know what you're doing because you are going to put the money and time into it. And that's one of the points I was getting to. The money. The money, the cost of starting a business is more than just, I want to try a thing, so let me just do this haphazard thing. So a lot of you come out here with these logos that look like who did it, who done it, and why. Pay for proper. I'm a graphic designer. I don't want you to hire me. Don't hire me. Because if you're gonna skimp on it, go somewhere else. Don't hire me. I'm gonna tell you that straight right now. Y'all stop tagging me in things that people come when you see. Okay, it's time. Number one, if you are doing any business endeavor, or you're even if it's ministry, it's business. So think of it as a business. Branding is the most important thing that has to be established than anything else. I don't care who in a suit told you what they cost and what is more important. The branding of your business is more important than anything else. If you don't have a proper brand, which is a proper aesthetic presentation that actually has structure to it, and everything that is used to present you as a business to anyone, whether it's a business card, a website, even a card, the stickers on a car, a phone number, a social media, anything, if that is not presented professionally, no one's going to take you seriously. No one's going to take you seriously. So those of you who treat your graphic designers like trash, you're going to get your retribution. And that's why when people do things, I don't really fuss. Sometimes I clap back, but a lot of times I just leave it alone. I'll be like, all right, because I know that if they don't take their business seriously, I'm not going to take it seriously either. Those of you who create personal pages for your little businesses and you go out and send friend requests to people, I'm going to deny them. I'm going to decline. Even if I know you, I'm going to decline. I am not going to be friends with your business. Create a like page. The fact that you went and you created a personal profile for your business lets me know that you don't know what you're doing. So I don't want to be a part of that communication process. I don't want to be on there. You're inboxing me. I don't want that. That is ghetto. That is considered ghetto. So that's one of the practices y'all need to stop. But y'all need to stop going and making statuses saying that you're looking for a graphic designer for this and for that. Let me know, tag some people. That is ghetto. That is the most ghetto thing you could do. So stop that, please. If you're out there thinking about doing, stop it. If you want suggestions, ask somebody or look. Look on lists. Look somewhere. There are graphic designers all over. You're telling me you never ran into one? Follow their page. Even if you don't know if you need it right now, you might need it. You have to be prepared to lose. I'll get to that soon. But I have to address this first. Stop asking people to tag graphic designers. And my friends mean well and they want to look out for me. And sometimes they tag me in relationships that happen that are built and they're like really good relationships. But that's very rare, actually. I'm trying to think. Do I have any clients that stuck, even if it's not now, that I had found through a tag, a status? No, none. I've gotten clients through social media, don't get me wrong. I've had people connect me to people on social media. That's different. But anybody who made a status and says, I'm looking for graffitis, I've never had a good experience. Never. Yet. Never. The few times I decide that I'm going to go out and lay my respond to this person, they have all been bad experiences, every single one. The last one that I even entertained, because right now I just shade people, I'd be like, this is ghetto, take it down. But the last one I entertained where I told the person that they look ghetto, it was someone who has like 4,000, 5,000 friends and they're popular online and they have like music online and people know them. But you could tell that their ministry wasn't, it was at one level and it didn't take off. And I'm like, it's because of attitudes like this. I said, what you posted here is very ghetto. Is I'm becoming. I don't know you. I've never heard of you, but people seem to know you, and this is ghetto. And I'm not scared to confront you and tell you that because I've had people who have won Grammys and Emmy, Grammys and Stellars and everything around the world. People know their music, and I would tell them stuff is ghetto, and they would listen to me. So I know you could listen. The people who inspired you, I've told them they've done ghetto stuff, and they listen to me. This was just plain old ghetto because you're on here asking for suggestions, and you want these persons to give you drafts of something so you could decide if you're gonna consider them for design. That's insulting. So don't treat graphic designers like that. Please don't. Don't. Graphic designers are people you should actually respect. And if you understand the value of their contribution to your business, you would treat them like gold. Because a good one, when you find a good one, is like gold. I'm not gonna ask anybody to vouch for it, but it could be the difference between your business taking off and your business crashing. That's number one. Same web designer, same thing. Please, when you're starting your businesses, one of the costs that you should include is consultancy. Black people, when we start businesses, especially, we like to go on everything on trial and error. We like to go everything off of a whim. We like to try a thing. So when I went today for that lunch at that business at that restaurant, after that I said I hate to go to. After standing in line because the service is so inefficient because it takes twice as long to cash than it takes to order, and you know people take long to order food. It takes twice as long to cash, but even when she's cashing, when the people bring the food, she still has to figure out what it is and which one is yours, even though they're in order. Somehow the order mixes up. How? And then on top of that, you have to stand there and go through a whole lot of process. And then I'm looking there at them, all the people, the million people she has serving. I'm looking at everything that's going wrong. And the kitchen is back there, and I'm seeing the process between the kitchen and the where the food is being displayed, and the service and the caching. And I'm seeing everything within 1 minute, everything that went wrong, and why it's constantly wrong. And I've gone there several times to see everything that's going wrong. And I go there and I order something and I order something else on the side. I order a meal and I order a side dish that's separate. The girl who's taking my order, she's not going to prepare the food. She's just pointing, you ready? You getting through? Because it's this Caribbean shop mentality. It's just like, let's address, why you here? Why you in my face? Good customer service. I am trying to figure out what you want, but I'm not actually getting it. So then she's managing because she's telling the other girl there, okay, prepare this. And I'm like, you didn't hear my side. You want the side? Oh, you want that on the side? Yeah. Or in the thing? No, I want it on the side. Okay, yeah, cool. Also get this on this side. Okay. I look at her, tell that girl that, and that girl never went for that side, and I knew I was not gonna get that side. So I finally get to the cashier who's taking forever to do everything, and who's talking too much, honestly. Not friendly conversation, but the interaction. If you had somebody who's looking at your thing critically, your business critically, and looking at the logistics, the person, he or she would actually help you cut down that interaction and find ways of making that process more efficient. But so I finally tell her, yeah, that's mine, But I also asked for this on the side. Oh, you want that on the side? Yeah, and I doubt it's there, right? She's like, oh, so she's telling Diane, no, she's telling Kelisha who Diane told before. Oh, no, Diane told somebody else. That's not her real name. But Diane told somebody else. Diane told Jasmine to get me the thing on this side. Now the cashier is telling Kelisha to get me the thing on this side. And I'm standing and I'm paying for my thing. And Kelisha goes in with a cup to get the thing on this side. And after I pay for my thing, cashier is telling me that the thing on this side is gonna come. And then I see Diane come out with the thing on the side, and I don't know if that is my thing on the side or it's somebody else's thing on the side. But Diane proceeds to rest the thing on the side at the end of all the other orders that are coming, and I'm standing there waiting for a thing on the side, and the cashier already forgot about me. As soon as I left that counter with my bag, she told me it's coming and to wait for it. As soon as I turned from the counter, she already forgot me, and she's already hot headed trying to deal with one line coming from orders and one line coming from mobile order. She's handling mobile orders and she's cashing food from inside orders. And I'm like, if y'all get somebody whose job it is to sit and figure that out and to tell you this needs to happen, you would have had such an easier, better process, a more streamlined process. And you look at places like Chipotle, their food is half the price of yours, but they're getting people in and out faster as well. And that's part of the success. If you get more people there, economies of scale. If you get more people there, you buy more produce and you create more stuff. You have more money to pay your employees. You actually could reduce the price of your service or your item. But to get more people in, you have to be able to want to facilitate more people coming in, and you have to have the reputation that will drive people to your place. You have neither of those. And that's how a lot of black owned businesses, Caribbean and African American businesses are run really haphazardly. And it takes simple things like this take a big epiphany to happen. And you're like, oh, you don't know how hard it is to run to business. I don't. I don't know how hard it is to run yours, but I know what it is like to run a business. And every business needs a streamlined process. And you have to have some kind of consultant coming to deal with that. So not every trade, and it's because we value trades based on what our hands could fashion. We don't think about ideas, minds, and concepts. So we think we're starting a restaurant, but we're not thinking of all the ideas behind running a restaurant that we need to service. We need to be taught them. Get somebody to figure out your logistics. Get somebody to figure out how to streamline the process for service in the restaurant. Get somebody to come in and coach your workers so they'll know friendly service is not being loud. That's not friendly. And it's not kiki and grinning either. It's being respectful. People just want that. There are people who want the casual conversation. There are people who want to be your best friend. There are people who just want to be left alone. Just give me my food in a timely manner. All that is good service. But these things have to be taught. When you're doing a business, you have to think about these other things. Whether you get them at a cost or you search out a way of getting them, you have to do that. So don't go into business to try your luck at anything because it's unfair for all the people who are going to come after you, who are depending on your business to grow so that theirs could stand a chance. Because the people who are trying to discredit what we're doing and trying to keep us in poverty, as long as we're unsuccessful, they could use that as an excuse to keep us out. They can't do redlining anymore. They can't do that stuff anymore. Institutions, they could use other loopholes. So if they know it's a risk to lend money to us, they're going to have an excuse to not lend us money. And that goes to policy. It took me a while to get here, but government and policy will wrap it up. Um, I don't know what else to tell y'all. Like I'm not really gonna, I'm not gonna fight on the intentions anymore because I have nothing left to tell y'all. Y'all should know it's by now. I stopped telling you stuff. But you guys, y'all are having a rough time on that little island. And I've seen a joke circulating that your leader, your government leader, he said that I can't even say it with a straight face. I think I need water before I do this. He was saying, in order to pay the van people who were striking, he's gonna have to cut the salaries of teachers, of public servants, teachers, police, nurses, etc. First of all, nurses, I don't know if they've been getting paid. Did the healthcare? I don't know who healthcare workers are. Let's start with that. I don't know who that is. So y'all gonna have to tell me who that is, because I don't know who they're talking about who wasn't paid. That's number one. Number two, I don't know if they were paid yet. But instead, y'all had a prime minister come and tell y'all, in order to pay the money that he was already given to pay people in the instance of what is happening, he's gonna have to take money away from other people. And the reason he did that, because he knows he's talking to poor people and he knows it would work. He knows what would work. What will work? That system? No. He doesn't intend to do that. He does not intend to give anybody any money. So he knows that would work. Why? Because he knows all he has to do is put is throw a rooster into the dog ring and he'll have y'all fighting each other. And that's all that was. He does not intend to cut anyone's pay. He just intends, like I said from the very beginning, to put y'all back in your place so y'all can know where you belong. Because y'all suddenly develop these huge aspirations to be people who could read and who know about rights. So all of a sudden, y'all know that during a pandemic and then during a natural disaster, that there's aid. There's aid for people who are disenfranchised and poor. I didn't know that. So now y'all know that y'all want a part of this aid. He's like, where's all this education coming from? We can't have that. So he brought y'all back down to your levels. He said, go sick 'em. And he told the public service that sick 'em. Sick these private sector people. Sick 'em. They're gonna try and cut into your money. Sick 'em. And it's working because the biggest manipulator of poor people is the government. You think businesses are bad? The government is way worse. And I'm like, what else do I tell y'all? And like somebody made it a status and said the only thing left to do left for rap. And I said I wish he would do that. I want him to do it because at least I would get a good hearty laugh out of it. I just want him to go around and fight all you. Just fight. Just start to fight Vincentians. Don't kill nobody. Just fight. I want to see he walk. Just take one day when he know Vincentians home and just go around and fight all of you. He and his ULP minions. He and half of the people who just get duty free concessions. Just go around and fight all of you. But I know I'm not gonna get that. Well, I might, but he wouldn't do the fighting himself. But I don't think I'm gonna get that wish. So all I could tell you all is to hold people accountable. Hold the people who you pay money to, poor people. You poor people. Yes, all of you, even those of you who don't have jobs, you're paying taxes. Hold them accountable for money that they received on your behalf because poor people are getting money. All these organizations that poor people are cussing and poor people are not trusting, these organizations are sending money your way that you never know you had. You never knew you have this money up to this date. Well, you received, some of you received it, and those of you who received it need to be held accountable. First, he tell y'all you hurt his feelings if y'all don't take the vaccine. And I never see. I didn't think. I would see so many people pro-vaccine before. I never see y'all concerned about anything to do with life, but y'all pro-vaccine. So I'm happy for y'all. That's good. At least y'all seeing something that you. But I never see anything like this. I never see y'all line up so easy. Come, come. Daddy say must. Daddy say here so. Come and get the sleeve roll up. Daddy say must put it here. Anyone, any vaccine go to die nothing. As long as a vaccine, Daddy say must put it. Daddy say must vaccine me. Come. Daddy say must give me the vaccine. Some of you don't even have an underlying condition and y'all run out front to come. Daddy say must and tell everybody must get vaccine if to be good boys and girls. As much as I've been out here trying to do the work of telling people to research vaccines and stuff, y'all take over. Y'all take first. I never hear none of you talk about vaccine until Daddy say must take the vaccine. Then all of a sudden everybody is vaccine advocate. I can't even get a chance to talk now. Oh, this is for my class. I don't have class today. I can't even get a chance to talk. It's the most pro-vaccine I ever seen in a country who don't like to read. But that is a good cause. Do the research yourself. If you don't feel like taking it, don't take it. I'm gonna tell you that now. I'm not forcing you to take it. But if you're not sure, do research and read. Do research and read for yourself. Don't listen to nobody who telling you the vaccine is good or bad. Do research. Find out what the technology is behind the vaccines. Find out which ones are available for you most importantly. Find out the efficacy. Find out the research that was done behind them. Find out the target groups and then make your decision from there. Because at the end of the day, if anything happens, you are liable to yourself because these people are not going to be liable to you who tell you must go and go first. They don't line up for that. They're not going to line up for that because nobody's going to say I'm inciting violence. But the same energy y'all have to tell everybody to go and take vaccine, y'all need to have that energy to research everything else that's going on in the country. Cause y'all not doing that much research for the economics. Why y'all not doing that kind of same research and that same same level of research and initiative to find out where the money went? All the money that we receive. Well, y'all, cause me ain't in that. We don't get my money. Well, I got almost Joe. You have until Friday. Um, I got almost all my money. But y'all need to do that. You need to find out where the money is because if y'all could find out so fast about the vaccine, then okay, then we have other things to do because y'all are some really fast people. I never knew y'all could have done research. So let's get this on the road. Let's get this show on the road. Where is the money? I'm waiting. Those of you who found out how the vaccine is good and we're gonna take the vaccine and y'all rush to take the vaccine, let's find out where is the money. Dirty rice. Is this dog food rice? Because everything has been politicized and the vaccine has been politicized in St. Vincent. You can't deny it. You cannot deny it. A lot of people who do not have one iota of care or concern about healthcare is suddenly at the forefront talking about vaccines and getting vaccines. The same people suspiciously always advocating for the government regardless of what it does. So I'm supposed to think, oh, this is just you trying to be mindful about your society and trying to keep everybody safe. No, you don't care about no vaccine. You care about daddy. Daddy said to go and take the vaccine, so daddy said must put it here. So you go and tell them put it there. I'm not saying everybody's doing that. I know people who took it because they're concerned about their safety. But if Godwin Friday was the one saying go and take that vaccine, some of you would sit down and shrivel up and die. Some of you prefer to dead first. But to come in the midst of all this and to say that in order to pay the people that you already told that you're going to that you already come to terms with in the negotiation, you're telling other people they're going to suffer because of them, and you tell me that's not inciting violence? The poor people, huh? That's what y'all tell me that's not what's going on. I'm not here to tell y'all what to do. I'm actually having fun at y'all expense at this point, because I just laugh now. But I just thought that was hilarious to see that. I thought y'all would address that. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. That's not nice to say. I'm not saying the vaccine is going to kill anybody, and I don't want him dead. I'm just saying you need to stop. You're too old now. You're too big for that. You need to stop manipulating people, man. Why is he manipulating? Isn't that time for you to stop manipulate poor people? My goodness. And I want somebody to tell me if them healthcare work, if team essential workers got team vouchers got paid at team $50. I hope it's not them who ain't get paid, because nobody didn't tell me nothing. I need to know who has not been paid. Well, now I nearly killed the man, surprised the man. When you find out people ain't getting paid. Everything except that. Poor people, as I take my departure, what is the point of all this? All this is to tell you that the one tool that we really have really is our willpower. We get to choose what we want to do. And a lot of us have been manipulated to think that's not Kenson's problem. Kenson's problem runs deeper than that. Kenson is in a failed state politically and technologically. So this headphone is not going to save Kenson. I don't know if headphones might help, but it's just a complicated problem. He has really crappy internet connection and it's not his fault. Hopefully it's better. I don't know if it was better Sunday, but he does need a better headset for his phone. This one can't work with his phone. Um, Poor people. Let's show our true power by one, keeping our money within our group. Too much of our money leaks out and it doesn't circulate long enough within our community. In order for that to happen, there are two things that need to happen. We always focus on one, spend your money on black owned business. That's just one part of it. The other part of it is that businesses need to actually be black owned. I remember going in, I decided I was going to wait and not order something on Amazon because I wanted to order from a local beauty salon store. And I went in and it was Asian folks running it. And I felt catfish and I felt betrayed. And it was called Afro Something Beauty. So now I have to really go through all these beauty shops and see what's going on. If it's owned by Asians and Africans, then something's off. Um, but it's more than just having black owned businesses. It's having black owned businesses that are valid businesses. I'm not going to abuse myself. I'm not going to put myself through the abuse of your attitude, through the abuse of your inefficiencies. And it's not me being petty, because some people, as soon as they walk in and they stand for 1 minute in a black business, they talk about all black businesses. That's not how it works. I'm going to support you. I'm going to support your prices if you act like an actual business and you don't act as if you're doing me a favor, because we're both helping each other here. You offer me a service and I'm offering you payment for that service. That's how life goes. That's bartering. That's trading. So let's act like that. I don't know what's so hard to understand in that. Act as if you want to be there. Act as if you want to make that money, not get this bag. Stop treating money like a commodity that makes anybody indispensable, that causes us to forget the humanity in each other. Do better than that. Let's actually aspire to quality. Quality in your work, quality in your service, your product, and change the perception of what we have, of who we are. Don't be so worried about the poor label that we neglect the manipulated label. Don't adapt consequences and neglect our reality. That way we can address it. We can address it and we can actually start seeing results. That is not going to cause us to have equality that MLK talked about. It's not going to cause us to realize the dream he had. It's going to cause us to be in a position where we can actually work towards that. Once we have financial stability, which does not come by a windfall, it comes by the transference of wealth. When you're building your wealth now, the decisions we take to build wealth have to be ones that we're thinking about our grandkids, not ourselves, not the big screen TV we want. This is beyond us. This is money we won't never see because we have to transfer a tradition along with an income. A lot of businesses that are starting up, they're not starting because they went to the bank and they had a hint. They're doing this because of what? That's their culture. I had some word for Joe Biden. Joe Biden went on TV and said that he's not. I knew he was never gonna give us no 50 grand student loan forgiveness because the bulk of that debt is held by poor people of color, especially black people. Joe Biden is never going to be allowed to catapult black people into the middle class like that. And instead, what he did, which is something that was very offensive, and I'll have to address it in a separate video, he threw people who went to elite institutions who are poor, he threw us under the bus in the guise of speaking to the privileged kids at Ivy Leagues. But I'll address that in a separate video after this. But I brought that up to talk about the culture in in those institutions, the networking that happens in those institutions that everybody's so quick to pull down and talk about they're overpriced and overrated. What happens is you're paying for the network that happens in there. People who have access to money, to capital, whether it's venture capital, any kind of capital, they have access to it. That's how people are perpetuating wealth. It's not this penny change nonsense that people saying that you're spending money on coffee. You should save the money from your coffee, and that's gonna make you. It's not gonna make you rich. People are wealthy because they are starting with wealth, whether they have it on their own or they access it through someone else. Exactly, it is a government asset. If they give away their asset, they're only left with liabilities. That's a joke, an accounting joke. But we have to really realize the position we're in before we could actually start to change it. We have to see the poverty that a lot of us are living in, that we're taught to ignore and neglect, and to just see it as a temporary situation when a lot of us are going to die in this situation unless we make changes right now by making demands. We're not asking for foreign stuff, we're asking for stuff we're entitled to. And it's time we started acting like that. And that's all I have to say. Start acting like you're a soul, like you're a person worth living a quality life. Stop neglecting things from yourself because you are told or taught that you have to put away this and you have to get this instead. Enjoy your life. But first, see what really makes you enjoy life. Examine yourself. It begins with introspection. What makes me happy? Why does that make me happy? Will what I want really make me happy? And start thinking that way. And then start seeing spending patterns around that. Don't listen to people. Stop listening to people first. Listen to yourself first. And then think from that. Spin out from there. Don't listen to people telling you, oh, don't go to college. College is just that and you're going to lose money. You have to invest money to make money. And don't listen to people who tell you to go to college and study this and that because you have to do this and that and that's what's good. This and that doesn't always yield a good return. Times are changing. A lot of people are going to state schools and coming out with a whole bunch of debt and they don't know why that happened because you were deceived. And a lot of people are avoiding school and not having any debt, but they're not making any money and they don't know what happened. Oh, someone fooled you and told you, oh, these trade jobs are going to make it takes time for that to happen too. Everything is a time investment. So now the only currency we have, and I always say this, the only currency common to everyone in the world is time. How are you spending your time? That's what you need to ask yourself. So as I leave you, go and ask yourself that. How am I spending my time? It will change your life. Hope y'all had a good chat. And I hope y'all have a good night. Bye.